earth has been a trip, man. All praises to the Most High. First thing I want to do is denounce all these abominations. Denounce all the abominations. All them pagan holidays, Sunday church worship, bowing down to false idols, eating pork, catfish, and shrimp. I'm denouncing all that right now. And it's a whole lot of other abominations that I don't even do. So I ain't gonna even mention them. But yeah, they had me worshiping this wannabe Christ with blonde hair and blue eyes. That ain't nowhere near Christ. So I started reading my Bible so I can show myself approved. I'm giving the pastor all my money, and he ain't even teaching me the truth. Pastor got a nice car, but I'm sitting up here struggling. I can't even pay my bills, man. Something wrong with this bitch. Say I done found the truth. I believe my grandparents lied to me. And I was going to church. None of our grandparents did no research to tell us the truth. They just believe what the pastor says. That's why you see the smile on my face, yeah. Yeah, they had me celebrating Christmas, man. That's Nimrod's birthday. That ain't Christ's birthday. And you remember back in school, all them Christmas programs? Man, they been dumbing us down since elementary. They taught us the wrong history. These people almost cost me my soul, man. While I was searching for some answers, this world had enslaved my mind. They was enslaving my mind, man. Your mind, too. But when I found the truth, I knew then the Most High opened my eyes. But the Most High opened my eyes. I can finally see right now. Yeah, they taught us the wrong history in school, too. Had us thinking we was Africans, man. Africans don't even claim us as they people. Think about that for a second. And that's why you see the smile on my face, yeah. So we found out that we the 12 tribes of Israel. The Negroes are the real Jews. Now we know God's name. His name is Ahia. We call him the Most High. We never use his name in vain. Now I know how to praise the Most High and give him all the glory. This world done dumbed us down so much, man. They was calling my brother named Jesus. His name is Yahweh. Some call him Yeshaya. Man, they lied to us, man. Go look up the letter J and find out when the letter J was invented. 500 years ago, man. His name was never Jesus. His name was Yeshaya. He had a Hebrew name. When the Most High built up his people, it's gonna be the most beautiful thing. And that's why you see the smile on my face, yeah.
Hallelujah. Blessed and highly favored. I love myself as well as my neighbor. Enjoy peace and love, yet I'm nothing to play with. Y'all running with the latest, what I believe is sacred. Our Father in heaven gave us eyes to see, to make distinctions between the psyops and the prophecies. I'm from a place where they downplay your atrocities, give you milk and cheese and never pay the proper fees. My brother's trying to calm the beast by copping pleas, but the only place the beast want the sheep is in his teeth. Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. But don't mistake, that's for the sheep who fell away. That's not for you, a wolf knows. He ain't in the dark about his plans. He coming for the flock, he want that blood on his hands. Want your throat not to breathe. In the lake of fire, he wants you to go beneath. Praying on you into your flesh, he wants you to sow a seed. Deferred hope maketh the heart sick. Yeah, Satan love it when you deceive. Disparaging remarks about our heritage and false narrative that said there's no merit to what we read, man. That gaslight like a flashlight. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. Y'all need to get that bag right. Wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. One hell of a ticket, pun intended. Don't you say I cussed. We've been through enough, 400 plus. Our time is up. Take off these cuffs. I've been in repentance for this lust. Not with the porn, but I can swipe up an image and feel disgust. What? They think I'm tripping cause I want more for myself. So that even in my thoughts I'm not whoring myself, yeah. Luring myself away from righteousness with my desire. My right hand mislead me, cut it off like Michael Myers. Life is easy, it's just complicated by these liars. Truth is confiscated, to get it you need the God of Zion. They confuse the sheep with disbelief and self-reliance. Took the Father's name off creation and blamed the science. Hebrews never boarded but still became compliant. Mission aborted, some of us refuse to slay this giant. That talking head should be severed off and dead. Bring us Pentecost instead, let's start speaking with tongues of fire. Ain't wanna preach to us, now the preaching coming from the choir. Y'all too corporate, tell me how does a preacher retire? I see y'all done bought the lies and y'all receipt expired. From the Holy Spirit, I don't never want no peace and quiet. The sheep hear the word of the most majestic, wonderful counselor, blessed voice of the shepherd. Meanwhile, all of the goats are disconnected, lawless, trading the promise of the blessed for a death wish.
Earth has been a trip, man. All praises to the Most High. First thing I want to do is denounce all these abominations. Denounce all the abominations. All them pagan holidays, Sunday church worship, bombing down the false idols, eating pork, catfish, and shrimp. I'm denouncing all that right now. And it's a whole lot of other abominations that I don't even do. So I ain't gonna even mention them. But yeah, they had me worshiping this wannabe Christ with blonde hair and blue eyes. That ain't nowhere near Christ. So I started reading my Bible so I can show myself approved. I'm giving the pastor all my money, and he ain't even teaching me the truth. Pastor got
Shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
Ashar Shabbat. Okay, everybody's doing fine. Everybody doing okay?
God.
Everybody's in the spirit. Everybody's strong, right?
God.
Okay, now before we start this class off, y'all know the title, Who is Cleopatra? But before we start this class off, we want to read a few prayers. This is Isaiah the 58th chapter and the 13th and the 14th verse. It reads, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Most High honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words. The 14th verse. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Most High, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth. and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Most High have spoken it. Amen.
Hallelujah, okay. Hallelujah. All right, I'm going to continue add on to that, and I want to add a prayer to that. Sister sent me a prayer, which is a very well sister. I rate her and give her a lot of props to, and she asked her we send these prayers out, you know, and the prayer line.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna read that.
Okay. So this is what the sister sent to me. She said, you know, and this was very deep and profound. She said, pray for all the widows and single women who has no desire to fall into the hands of blind male, and all the young men who desire to do good but are being chased by the same Jezebel spirit that destroys their father and grandfathers. Pray, elder, pray. Pray without ceasing, as I pray for you, men of Yah, to speak his word above all odds and to be guarded by his angels. I'd like to thank that sister Tawada for that. And yes, sister, we're going to pray for all the sisters and the brothers. And prayer is needed for our people in these last days. And we need those prayers for healing, blessings, protections, and for all the favor of the Most High to be upon us. Because we're living in one of the greatest time ever. All right? But Kataz, I want you, Labra, I want you to read for me Psalms. All right, and you're going to bring out your prayer.
Yeah, bring out that prayer. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, read that. Yeah.
For prayer request, you can dial in 833-690 HODC extension 1. That's for prayer request.
Right. So we ask the Most High to bless, man, to heal us. Oh Father Yahweh Abba, hear our prayers and heal and bless your people. Touch and anoint your people, all right, in these last days. To heal, strengthen, watch over, guard, protect, and bring us to your word, your truth, that we may arise as a people in sincerity and the spirit and in the truth of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. We ask thee, O Father, for water. Amen. And Labran, could you read for me Psalms 145? And then we're going to jump into our class, which is a good topic. You know, it deals with a lot of things that our people are looking into.
Right.
Because our people now is searching for identity.
Right.
All right, Psalms 145.
Read out the book of Psalms, chapter 145, verse 1. I will extol thee, O my power, O King, and I will bless thy name forever and ever. Every day will I bless thee, and I will praise thy name forever and ever. Great is the Adawan, and greatly to be praised.
So you see that? Great is the Most High, and greatly to be praised.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
And his greatness is unsearchable.
And his greatness is unsearchable, man. It's unsearchable. All right, continue.
One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts.
Go ahead.
I will speak of the glorious honor of thy majesty, and of thy wondrous works.
And that's what we're going to do today and forevermore, to declare the wondrous and glorious works of the Most High. Because all truth was given to the children of Israel. And it's our job to reinstate and bring back truth in the earth. Yes, the nations had their great history and dynasty and rulership, but the great truth of the Most High was given to the children of Israel to publish and bring forth the Most High truth and righteousness.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And men shall speak of the might of thy terrible acts.
That's right. Go ahead.
And I will declare thy greatness.
And we're going to declare the Most High's greatness, because the Most High is going to show his greatness in these last days. Go ahead.
They shall abundantly utter the memory of thy great goodness, and shall sing of thy righteousness.
Go ahead.
The Adawan is gracious and full of compassion.
Yes, the Most High is gracious and full of compassion. Go ahead.
Slow to anger.
He's slow to anger. The Most High puts up with a lot of people, nonsense and harsh, blasphemous words against the Most High, denouncing the Most High word. The Most High is slow to anger to that, even amongst our people. The Most High sit back and he allow you to run with your foolishness until he puts you in check. Go ahead.
And of great mercy.
And of great mercy. Go ahead.
The Adawan is good to all, and his tender mercies are over all his works.
That's the truth. Go ahead.
All thy works shall praise thee, O Adawan,
All the works of the Most High is going to praise the Most High. Go ahead.
and thy saints shall bless thee.
See? And thy saints shall bless the Most High. That's our job, to bless and praise the Most High. Go ahead.
They shall speak of the glory of thy kingdom, and talk of thy power,
That's right. And we're going to talk about the Most High power. Go ahead.
to make known to the sons of men his mighty acts, and the glorious majesty of his kingdom.
See? And the glorious majesty of his kingdom, which is about to come in this earth.
Right.
Okay? Go ahead.
Thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom.
See that? The Most High's kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom. Our kingdom is going to be the only kingdom that ever had a second chance to rule this earth again. No other kingdom ever had that chance,
Right.
not even Egypt. And Egypt will never rule again.
Right.
The Most High said Egypt will be a base kingdom. The only kingdom that's going to rule again are the children of Israel. And that's going to be an everlasting kingdom under the Most High and Yahushua. Go ahead.
And thy dominion endureth throughout all generations.
That's right.
The Most High upholdeth all that fall, and raises up all those that be bowed down. The eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou giveth them their meat in due season.
That's right. The Most High gives everybody their meat in due season. Okay? Go ahead.
Thou openest thine hand, and satisfieth the desire of every living thing. The Most High is righteous in all his ways, and holy in all his works.
That's right.
The Most High is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth.
See, in truth. It has to be done in truth.
Right.
Okay? Go ahead.
He will fulfill the desire of them that fear him, but also will hear their cry and save them. The Most High preserveth all them that love him, but all the wicked will he destroy.
That's right. But all the wicked will he destroy. The wicked is going to be destroyed very soon. It's wicked elite rulers, the oligarchy, the plutocrats, the aristocrats, the ruling elite families, the Gates, the Bill Gates, the Rockefellers, the DuPont, all
right.
these evil dynastic rulers, they're going to be destroyed.
I know that's right.
Okay? The Most High just allow them to run and rule for a certain point of time to show mankind that who's in control. He allowed the wicked to rule this earth for a set time, but they're going to be destroyed. Continue.
Right.
My mouth shall speak the praise of the Most High,
See, my mouth shall speak the praise of the Most High. Go ahead.
and let all flesh bless his holy name forever.
And let all
ever.
flesh
Ever.
bless
Right.
the Most High holy name forever. And all flesh is going to bless the Most High's holy name. They're
That's
going to have
right.
no choice.
That's right.
Right? Because the Most High is the King of kings. He is a ruler of this entire universe.
That's right.
There's no power beyond the Most High. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right.
And the Most High's rule would be a dictatorship.
That's right.
It would be a righteous dictatorship. Now the topic of this class is who is Cleopatra? You got a lot of uproar about this Netflix series about Cleopatra being black. You got an Egyptian lawyer is suing Netflix. So you got a lot of stuff out there, man. But when it comes to, I mean, if our people want to make movies or they want to make a series about blacks, go right into the scriptures. Okay, they make movies about King David. They make movies about Goliath. They were black, but they make them white. See, the reason a lot of our people don't go into the Bible because they think it's the white man's book.
That's
But the Most High is about history, and the Bible deals with nations, it deals with rulership, and it deals with history. Now, if you want to make a series or a movie about so-called black women, go right into the Bible. Read about Queen Esther. Okay, her husband was the Persian king, Ahasuerus, who was Xerxes I. Read about Queen Esther. Read about Deborah in the book of Judges. Read about the sister Rebecca, our mother.
Susanna.
Right, because Rebecca is one of the reasons why that the 12 tribes that come out of Jacob have the birthright.
right.
Because remember, Isaac wanted Esau. So the promises and the messianic promise could have went to Esau. But because of Rebekah, it goes to the 12 tribes. So make something about Rebekah. Make something about Judith. When you read in the Apocrypha about Judith, yeah, she took a warrior's head off and brought it back to her people. See, these are the things that our sisters do, our mothers do, and they don't carry on like a Cleopatra the VII. You know, she was passed around like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
But the Most High was dealing with these sisters that we are mentioning. They could have made something about Hagar, who was Sarah's handmaid, who her and Abraham brought forth the Ishmaelites, who are the Arabs today, of which she is a real Egyptian. They could have made something about her. You could have made something about the New Testament sisters, Lydia, Priscilla, Phoebe. These was businesswomen on a high level. Their reach was all over, doing business with the whole world. These are sisters. And you have the 1963 film with Elizabeth Taylor playing Cleopatra. They said that was one of the most expensive movies there was, man. So what we're going to do today is break down and bring out Cleopatra the VII lineage, because there was about 7 Cleopatras. You know, we're going to go through them. There was one Cleopatra of Macedonia, who was Philip the Macedon's daughter, who was Alexander the Greek's sister.
Okay,
Right. Come on. Yeah.
Cleopatra's was a title of the Ptolemies.
Right.
That was not a title of the Egyptians. But see, the problem with our people,
Right.
they so amazed and fascinated of Egypt. Yes, it's in Africa, and because Egypt was black, they figured everything that came out of Egypt represents them. But you got to understand, prophecies and history takes precedence.
That's right.
At the time when the Greek ruled the earth, Egypt was done. Egypt was kaput. There wasn't no more black rulership in Egypt.
That's it,
Egypt was finished from the time the Persian Empire came into Egypt. The last ruling black Egyptian pharaoh in Egypt was Psamtik III. And right after that, Cambyses became the pharaoh of Egypt, a Persian ruler.
Persian ruler, right.
Right after the Persian finished ruling came the Greek Empire.
Right.
So you have to understand, prophecies plays a significant role in the events that take place in the earth. Go ahead, Ash.
Right. When the Persian ruler Cambyses came in, I believe 525 BC, what they did, they honored the Egyptian gods. They bowed down in their temples and they honored their gods, just like the Greeks. When they came in, Alexander the Greek, you know, they called themselves pharaohs. They built temples to the Egyptian gods. And Egypt was so large, man, that the Greeks, like in the major cities, the Greeks had to use the Egyptians, the natives that was on the outskirts. They had to use them, which to push their culture, the Hellenistic, and for its obedience. Because the Egyptian priesthood, they had a hand in helping the Greeks push that, to push their law. You understand? So the Greeks, and then the Romans came in. They started dealing with the Egyptians, gods and temples and customs and everything, man. See, but we want to go into how the Greeks got started and how the Romans got started. Let's go first to Daniel, the 8th chapter and the 8th verse. And we're going to show you the lineage and the line that Cleopatra the VII came out of. She came out of the Ptolemaic dynasty. They were Greeks. You had the Ptolemaic dynasty. They was intermarrying one another to keep the purity of the bloodline. I would say maybe about 3 times that it switched up, because they was interacting with the Seleucids as well, which the Seleucids was what? Greeks. The Ptolemies were Greeks. And when you read in the Apocrypha, Demetrius, Apollonius, all those guys were Greeks. Antiochus III, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, they were Seleucid Greeks. Okay, so
can I tell you?
Come on, Ben.
And the bloodline always went to the father's side. Even up until today, that's how they keep the rulership on earth, through the bloodline of the father. You understand? The woman they just use. They just use them as bed wenches or concubines.
That's it.
That's all they use them for. But the bloodline stayed through the paternal lineage, even up until this day. the DuPonts, the Rockefellers,
Right.
the Gettys, this guy over there in Africa, what's his name? The Oppenheimers.
Right.
All these elite oligarchs that rule the earth is a bloodline.
That's right.
From way back from the time of the Greeks down to the Romans, it has not changed.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Ash.
Right. So you got Daniel the 8th chapter
Go ahead.
and the 8th verse.
We're now in Daniel chapter 8, verse 8.
You know, before we start that, when you read the history of the Ptolemaic dynasty, man, they was vicious. They were some vicious people, man, intermarrying, brother marrying sister. They was wicked and they was vicious. The Seleucids were vicious. These Greeks was vicious, brother.
They were fighting amongst themselves.
For
rulership, man.
Power tripping. It was all about power. It was all about politics because the kings and the leaders was giving their daughters to other rulers for political reasons. So the woman at that time really was just a tool for political reasons. Okay, if you want to annex this country, what have you, okay, you want to make peace, okay, I will give you my daughter. If you want to make an alliance, if this nation is too powerful, I think I want to make an alliance with this nation. Hey, take my daughter. See, that's what they was used for political reasons.
Could I add to that too?
Yes.
And that's what Cleopatra was used for against Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, against Octavius, the general.
Right.
It was a pawn. She was used for that. And I started to keep Mark Antony still in power and Julius Caesar. But eventually the Senate said, nah, you being influenced by her. And they stabbed him up.
Took him out the way.
Man.
Yeah.
Took him out, man.
Took him down.
They were brute, man. They were vicious, man. Okay? Go ahead, Ash.
There's a historian, a Roman historian by the name of Plutarch. He wrote about Cleopatra the 7th. Now, he said that she wasn't really like they put out. She wasn't 100% of good looking. She wasn't that good looking, but her personality, her character, the energy that she bring to the men just blow them away. You know, because it was written that she got to Julius Caesar quarters, right? His domain. She was smuggled in there. It was a situation that was going on in Egypt with her and her brother, a power trip. So her brother kind of kicked her to the curb. So she wanted to kind of get back in power, get back in that position. So she was smuggled into Julius Caesar headquarters. And what I've read, that they wrapped her up in a carpet, or I've read a linen sack. And they smuggled her in, and she came out of the carpet. And from that point on, her and Julius Caesar became allies and lovers. And then now Mark Antony, she went to visit Mark Antony. She was sailed on a ship. She was dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. And she had people as cupids fanning her and burning sweet smelling incense as she was the goddess. Now she was called the new Isis. And she knew Egyptian language. She knew Hebrew. What I read,
but she had to learn the Egyptian.
Yeah, she had to learn that
because she was not fluent in Egyptian.
Right.
And her whole interest was to reestablish the Ptolemaic dynasty of her father. That was her whole sole interest.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ash.
Yeah. So she had to learn the Egyptian language. I think she spoke about 9 different languages, man, and she was well versed on a scholarly level. She hung out with the scholars. It wasn't the beauty; it was her personality. You know, you can meet women. The beauty is not all there, but the personality brings out that beauty. You know, her spirit make her very beautiful. You see what I'm saying? So that's how Cleopatra was. Man, she mesmerized Mark Antony and Julius Caesar, because when they lost that war with Octavian, who was Augustus Caesar, and I'm gonna get the scripture later, Augustus Caesar is mentioned in the Bible. Like I said, this is a history book. He's mentioned in the Bible. We're gonna get that scripture. Now, when they lost that war fighting him, Mark Antony had got news that Cleopatra had committed suicide. So he killed himself. And when he finished killing himself, the news came to be presented to him that no, it was just a rumor. But now when Cleopatra heard that he killed himself, she killed herself.
Right.
Now the writers write about that she was killed by a poisonous snake, but also Plutarch, and there's another Roman writer named Strabo wrote that she carried like poison in one of her combs, and she always carried some poisonous ointment with her. So it could have been either or, but they both committed suicide after they lost the battle with Octavian, who was Augustus Caesar, supposedly have really been the heir to rule instead of Julius. Well, they wanted Julius Caesar's son, Caesarion,
yeah.
but Augustus was the adopted son of Julius Caesar, and I think there was the Battle of Actium, which was around Greece, and I think in 31 BC.
And it was the time for the Roman Empire to rule the earth.
Right.
It was prophecy.
There was that time. Yeah. Yes.
Elders, we have a question here. Nehemiah Yasha Allah. He's asking, this Cleopatra was only queen in Alexandria, not in the whole, not the whole of Egypt?
No, just in Alexandria, just a certain area. Yes.
Because that was their home base.
Yeah, that's where the Ptolemies took over and ruled. All right. The Ptolemies ruled that area of Egypt. They were the main rulers of Egypt. And Alexander's 5 generals took over the known earth and partitioned it amongst themselves. Right. All right. When his generals came into play, the whole earth was under their vibration and rulership.
Right.
Even Jerusalem. Right. Under what's Antiochus.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, because you had when you read in Daniel's 11th chapter, right? You read the kings of the north and the kings of the south. Those are the Seleucids and the Ptolemies, and it mentioned Jerusalem. Jerusalem is right in the middle, and right up north was Syria. That's where the Seleucids ruled, and then down south was the Ptolemies. That's where the Ptolemies of Egypt ruled from. So Jerusalem, whenever they wanted to hit Jerusalem, they did so. If Jerusalem wasn't in connection, or if they didn't have an alliance with the Seleucids, okay, the Seleucids would hit them. So they had battle on both sides, you see. So let's read that Romans, the 8th chapter.
Daniel.
Salakim, Daniel, the 8th chapter and 8th verse.
Read out Daniel, chapter 8, verse 8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great.
That's Alexander.
And when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
That means he died.
And for it came up 4 notables, ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Now, I did this class many times now. The 4 notable ones was who? One was Cassander, one was Seleucus, one was Ptolemy, and one was Antigonus, but Lysimachus took over Antigonus. Right. Okay, so those were the 4, Lysimachus, some say Lysimachus, Cassander, Seleucus, and Ptolemy. But Alexander had more than just those 4 generals, but it said the notable ones. Right. He had many bodyguards. He had many generals. He had Antipater. He had Cletus the Black, Cletus the White. Don't have anything to do with their skin color. Right. He had Cratus, Perdiccas. He had many generals, a lot of generals. And these guys, these 4 was going to war, and it took them, I would say, about a little over 15 years to stabilize who gonna take what land. And when you read in the history, that time was called the Wars of the Diadoches. Diadoches mean the successors of Alexander the Great. They was battling on who gonna take what. As we read, Alexander give them the rulership, but it didn't come like that. They had to fight for damn about 15 to 20 years to stabilize all positions. Okay, Ben, I'm gonna get one more. Yeah, okay, come on.
Zaquana Posh, pull up the map I gave you about Lysimachus and his generals, the areas that they took over. Pull up that map. Right. See that? So everybody can see that map, right? You see where the Seleucids, right, they took over the Persian Empire, all right? The Ptolemy took over Egypt over there in the pink on the bottom. And over there you see the kingdom of Antigonus,
Right.
where he took the era of Greece. All right, and he got Cassandra, and what's his name at the top? They took the Hellespont and parts of Europe. So that's where his 4 generals took over the earth. All right, so go back to the Seleucius right here to your right, Zakwana Pash. Yeah, with the pointer, showing the pointer to you right here. The Seleucius, they took that era, which is all of the Persian Empire, when they conquered the Persian Empire.
Right.
All right. Now go up over here to the kingdom of Antigonus. Antigonus with a pointer. All right. Antigonus took that era. That was all the era of Greece. He took over that era. All right. Now go down to the bottom where Ptolemy took Egypt. Now the Ptolemies took Egypt and they ruled that whole era for over 200 years. 200 years of the Ptolemaic influence in Egypt.
In Egypt, yeah.
All right. Now go back up to the top left now and see where it says Cassandra. They took all of the era of the Hellespont, Turkey, and all that era. That was the kingdom of the Greeks. His generals that took over the what you call the 4 winds of the earth.
Yeah, like the scriptures say.
And they had that stronghold for a long time. And that's what a lot of Israelites became Hellenists, Greek, that spoke the Greek language. All right? So go ahead, Ash.
You know, we as Israelites, you know, when we speak about the Greek and Roman, you get a lot of our people, oh, y'all into that old white history. But we have to go into that just like we have to go into the American history. You know, we had something to do with America. We was captives, so we had something to do with Greece. We was in Greece. Okay, we was battling the Greeks and Tigers of Epiphanes. That's how we got the Feast of Lights.
The Maccabees.
Hanukkah, the Maccabees, the Levites. And the Romans. We got to deal with Roman history. Okay, because we was in the Roman Empire. We had to deal with that. But don't take that map away. I want to get you. You got your apocrypha? Let's go to First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and I want to read from 1 to 9, and I want to use that map. And then I'm going to yield with that, Ben. I'm going to pass it on to you.
No, you could go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
First Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and let's just go from 1 to 9. I still want to deal with Alexander the Greek and his generals.
Read out of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
Where you at?
Maccabees 1 and 9?
No, from 1 to 9. First verse to the ninth
Read the
verse.
first verse. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're going all the way through to 9.
Yeah, reading out of the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Now, you have the Greeks and the Persians. They had many, many, many wars, but the last 3 battles, those were bloody wars. And I'm going up to the map, and you got the dates too. That first battle, I'm talking about the last 3. That first battle was the point to the Battle of the Granicus River in 334 BC. So you see Granicus?
Over to your
It's
right.
over to the left a little bit.
Yeah.
Up to the top a little.
Right there.
Yeah. That was the Battle of the Granicus River in 334 BC. Now, the Battle of Issus, right here at 333 BC. See, all up in the same area, and all this area was around Turkey. Okay, now let's go over to 331. Let's go to the Battle of Gaugamela, and it's also called the Battle of Arbela. That was in 331 BC, and that was the final blow to the Persian. That was under Darius III of Persia. Okay, and all these battles was around Turkey. Come on, continue to read.
Verse 2. And made wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth.
See, slew the kings of the earth and went through to the ends of the earth. Come on.
and took spoils of many nations.
Took spoils of what? Many nations. Read on.
Insomuch
Right.
insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
They had shut them down.
Yeah, nobody couldn't rise up against them.
They shut them down, and what they bring in, Ben, the Hellenization.
Yeah,
Even you had Israelites was calling themselves Hellenes.
yeah.
Yeah, calling themselves after everything, or calling themselves after the Herodians, calling themselves after everything, like we do today. Like we do today.
And Egypt was stomped out. Egypt ain't had no power, bro. Egypt was over. Okay, it became a base empire from that point, man.
There's three
base.
empires.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, continue.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
And I've just showed on this map the wars with the Persians and the Greeks. Now, Alexander took Egypt in 332 BC. But prior to that, when Ben spoke about Cambyses in 525, when he came into Egypt, he used the gods of Egypt against them.
Right.
What I mean by gods, like they worshiped the cat called Bastet. The animals that they worship, Cambyses took those animals to war. He went out to war with a lot of cats. And the Egyptian, because they honored the cats as gods, kind of got startled because of that. Okay, the cat Bastet. Continue to read.
Verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
You hear that? Read on.
And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
Come on.
Wherefore he called to his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
Come on.
So Alexander reigned 12 years, then died. And his servants bare rule, everyone in his place.
Can I go back to 7? When he said Alexander reigned for 12 years. It took him 12 years to conquer the known entire earth at that particular time. 12 years.
12 years.
And he did it quick. They said when he said he touched not the ground, meaning he moved so swiftly.
Right.
How he conquered the nations and established the Greek empire in the earth, man. And that was amazement. But that was the Most High prophecy upon him to do those things.
That's
when
right.
the Most High got prophecies in motion, you can't stop prophecies.
Right.
All you got to do is flow with it, or you're going to get run over, man.
Right.
All right? Go ahead.
Verse 8. And his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them. Many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Right. So when it say the sons after them, now that next verse, you'll be reading about Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Now, this is the Seleucid side. Okay, now when you read about the Ptolemy side, about Egypt and so forth, that's the Ptolemy side. But it said that their sons after them, that's why you got Antiochus the third, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh. You got Ptolemy the fifth, sixth, seventh. You got Cleopatra the third, fourth, seventh. So now when you go into this history and start reading about it, sometimes you just got to push the book away a little bit and sit down and just swallow that, man. Digest it and relax. Because sometimes you get lost in these names. Sometimes you get confused and kind of get lost. You got to come back to it. You see, don't put it away forever. Come back to it. Start taking notes. Write these names down and try to get the dates and the years right, and then you do well. Okay, so we finished that. I'm a yield with this, Ben.
Right. So I just want to read this. I want to read this from this book that Karadazar Rakar gave me. So we're going to jump on Cleopatra, all right? Because as you remember, once the Ptolemies took Egypt, there wasn't no more rulership of the black Egyptians, okay? Let's put this out there. Let's clarify everything out there. We're not saying the Egyptians were white people. What we are saying, at that point in history, from the time of the 3rd century BC and on, Egypt became white by the Ptolemies. Cleopatra herself was not even black, okay? Not even her, maybe her mother was.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But her paternal lineage came from the Greeks. like I said before, Egypt was finished and done when the Persians took over Egypt. Okay? Like I said, the last pharaoh that ruled Egypt was Psamtik III. After that, you had the Persians' rulership. Then when the Greeks came in, they put their white rulers up in Egypt to rule. Yes, from the first dynasty up until the 28th dynasty. The 28th dynasty of Egypt were all black pharaohs. From the first dynasty to the 28th dynasty of Egypt were all black pharaohs. From the 29th dynasty on, you had the Persians, you had the Greeks, then you had the Romans. All right? So I'm going to read this book from this book. It's called...
Can I say this before you start? And a lot of people is saying that the Ptolemies mixed with the natives. But look, if they did mix and there were pigmentation involved, Cleopatra is still a Greek because the man carries the seed. She could be black as midnight, but she was from the lineage of the Ptolemies. She is still Greek, you know, for his nationality. Not color. Yes, he dark-skinned in color, but her nationality, she is a Greek.
And that's what our people can understand because they caught up into that Egypt philosophy of the matriarch. But it doesn't work like that. You understand? So they're following that. Oh, the mother, she was black.
Right.
Said, oh, what? You understand?
It's the seed.
It's the seed. The man carries the seed. Now, we're not saying the woman doesn't play a role in nothing. We're not saying that because some people say, you bros just hate women. You're misogynist. Stop the BS, man. Okay? Let's deal with reality and the facts and the prophecy of what the Most High said. The man carries the seed. Go ahead, Yeshua. Yes.
I got a precept. Leviticus 24:10. And it says, the son of an Israelitish woman, whose father was an Egyptian.
Right.
Because she was an Israelite, but the father was an Egyptian.
The identity.
Go ahead.
Went out among the children of Israel, and this the son of the Israelitish woman, and a man of Israel strove together in the camp.
Right. Because that's a conflict. That seed, and Yahushua spoke about that. He spoke about the tears. Okay? And the enemy came in and sowed seed amongst them. Right. Okay? That's those tears. Okay? So I want to read this here from Rakar, what he gave me. All right? It's called, the name of the book is called Pharaohs and Kings, A Biblical Quest, written by Rohl, R-O-H-L, and Crown. Okay? And this, from one of the paragraphs in the book, this is what it was written in. I'm going to read from the paragraph. And it says, eventually taking the Egyptian throne following the death of Alexander, I direct heirs Philip, Arrhidaius, and Alexander the Fourth. So begins the Ptolemaic period from 304 to 30 BC. So that's 300 years of whitenizing and colonizing Egypt by the Ptolemies. Okay? If somebody's in your country for 300 years ruling, you don't have no part. The only part you play is a damn slave.
That's it.
Okay? Just like when the white man went to South Africa. What happened to South Africa? You say, oh, South Africa. But who runs and controls South Africa? The white power structure and all levels. Okay? The true native South Africans are the damn slaves. They might not want to hear that, but you are. They're slaves. That's why they put Mandela up in power, to pacify you. But the elite rulers of South Africa are white people, the Boers, and these different family of the Germans and the Belgium. Okay? They control and run Africa just at the same time when the Ptolemies took over Egypt.
Took over Egypt, right?
All right? I'm going to finish reading this. All right? So the Ptolemaic period from 304 to 30 BC, which ends notorious and tragic suicide of Queen Cleopatra VII and the murder of Caesarion Ptolemy the 15, which was her son. Her son by Julius Caesar. Notice, all her children were by white men.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, all her children were of white men. So that's not black children.
Right.
Those are little devils running around. Okay? This young half Greek, half Roman, Egyptian pharaoh, the Egyptian pharaoh is the last of his long and illustrious line to rule an independent pharaonic kingdom in the Nile Valley. 3,000 years of history comes to a close with the Black Lands. Involuntary incorporation into the great Roman Empire. So at this time, Egypt was falling into the rulership of the Roman Empire, which was coming into play. All right? Eventually, no longer a sovereign state, but merely the private estate of the Roman Empire. An astonishing royal culture had finally reached its sudden and dramatic end with the murder of a young and innocent boy who had been the heir to the thrones of both Egypt and the Roman Empire. The birth of H.O.D.C is now just 3 decades away. So in 30 BC, when the Romans took over Egypt, it was 30 more years before H.O.D.C was born. So her son, which was supposed to be the successful pharaoh, he was killed. Octavian killed him, all right? Because when the Romans came into play, they was taking down anything that was not part of the Roman Empire. Okay? And the Romans fought against the Greeks. And eventually, the Romans absorbed the Greek culture and way of life and established the Roman Empire. Okay? So Egypt was done by that time. Egypt was no more black. They were just black people running about, but they was not ruling Egypt. Okay? They were serfs, slaves, peasants, beggars, and a base kingdom. And we're going to read about that in the book of Ezekiel. Yes.
HODC Salt Lake City made a comment and says Ptolemy were big on incest.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
they were big on incest. You understand?
He said it was a very good chance she would look white.
Right. Her mother was one of the daughters of the Ptolemies. And Cleopatra, the seventh father, was Ptolemy Aulet, the 12th. A Greek. All right, that was her father, Ptolemy Aulet, the 12th of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Ptolemy Soter the first was the beginning of all that Ptolemy dynasty of Egypt. All right, I want to read something to you in the book of Ezekiel 29. All right, because these black, so-called Egyptian fanatics just love to run, and then you got our people following this Egypt and Kemetic lifestyle that doesn't. They know, but they have to go according to biblical prophecies to base what you're saying. Biblical prophecies dictates what went down in the earth. All right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, the 29th chapter, right? I want to show you something here. All right? Let's go to Ezekiel 29. All right? And start from Ezekiel 29. Start from the 9th verse, Labraim. We're going to read from the 9th verse all the way down to the 16th verse.
Read out the book of Ezekiel, chapter 29.
Now, this was Ezekiel the prophet, was prophesying this during the time of the Babylonian Empire. Because even the Babylonians, under Nebuchadnezzar, his sons took over as pharaohs in Egypt and ruled in Egypt. Okay? They ruled in Egypt as pharaohs. When you go back, let me go back to the Persian Empire too. When you go back to the book of Ezra, it tells you that the Persian Empire ruled from India unto Ethiopia. That's how vast their empire was. They ruled from India all the way down to Egypt and Ethiopia as a ruling empire. So let's read Ezekiel, the 29th chapter, and start from the 8th verse.
Now Ezekiel chapter 29 and verse 8. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, I will bring a sword upon thee, and cut off man and beast out of thee.
And this was Nebuchadnezzar that was coming against Egypt. Okay? So at this time, they still had black pharaohs ruling in Egypt. True native Kemetic Egyptian pharaohs.
Right.
Right? Because the true name for Egypt is Kemet. Kham. That's what they got it from the land of Kham. And the Egyptians call it Kemet. All right? The Greeks call it Egypt, which is a Greek name. Continue.
And the land of Egypt shall be desolate and waste.
See, and the land of Egypt shall be desolate and waste, when Nebuchadnezzar came in and conquered it. Go ahead.
And they shall know that I am the Most High, because he has said, the river is mine, and I have made it.
And that's what the Pharaoh said. The river is mine. That's what they all boasted about the Nile River. The river is mine. Okay? They were boasting about the Nile River and how great it was. Okay? And that's what all kingdoms did when they ruled. They boast about their power and their ego.
Forget about the Most High.
All right? And forget about the Most High. All right? Go ahead.
Verse 10, behold, therefore I am against thee, and against thy rivers, and I will make the land of Egypt utterly waste and desolate.
And the Most High used Nebuchadnezzar to make it waste and desolate when he came and took over Egypt. Right? Because after that, all nations plundered Egypt and robbed Egypt. They took from Egypt because Egypt was on its way out. Go ahead.
From the tower of Syene, even unto the border of Ethiopia.
Even unto the border of Ethiopia. All right? Nebuchadnezzar went down with his kingdom and ruled. Go ahead.
Verse 11, no foot of man shall pass through it, nor foot of beast shall pass through it, neither shall it be inhabited 40 years.
For those 40 years, when Nebuchadnezzar took it over, it became desolate. It wasn't no movement, no commerce coming from the true native Egyptians, but it was done by Nebuchadnezzar. He took over the commerce, the trade, the politics,
Everything.
everything in Egypt.
Everything, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 12, and I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and their cities among the cities that are laid waste shall be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians.
And the Egyptians were scattered, just like they are scattered today. Okay? The true Egyptians are not in Egypt ruling. They were scattered and dispersed all throughout Egypt and the Sudan. Okay? So when you talk about the Egyptians, you're not no Egyptians. Okay? The slave trade came from the west coast of Africa. Go ahead.
And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and will disperse them through the countries.
Mainly through Sudan, Nubia, and all those areas. Now, you might have very few of them that went to West Africa, but the bulk of them stayed in the area close to their homeland, which is the Sudan, around that area. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 13, yet thus said the Most High Power, at the end of 40 years will I gather the Egyptians from the people, whether they were scattered. And I will bring them, and I will bring again the captivity of Egypt.
So the Most High brought them out of captivity for that short period of time. Go ahead.
I will cause them to return in the land of Patros.
And the land of Patros. That was their land in Egypt. Okay, go ahead.
Into the land of their habitation. And they shall be there a base kingdom.
And from that point, Egypt was a base kingdom.
Yep.
From the time of Nebuchadnezzar, it was a base kingdom.
Right.
Okay? It was no more an influential, ruling, powerful kingdom. It became a base kingdom. Continue.
Verse 15. It shall be the basis of all kingdoms. Neither shall it exalt itself any more above the nations. For I will diminish them, that they shall no more rule over the nations.
And that's what the Most High did to them. So when the Persians came in, he took down Psamtik III. He was the last native Egyptian pharaoh. And from that point on, it was the Persians ruling Egypt. Then after the Persians ruled for that 200 years, then the Greeks came in for another 300 years and took over Egypt. And Egypt was never the same after that. It was done. It was kaput. All right, go ahead.
Verse 16. and it shall be no more the confidence of the house of Israel.
And this is going to be a future prophecy. From that point, it was going to be a future prophecy. The Most High said, Egypt is not no more going to be the confidence of our people, because our people love to say, Egypt, the mother, Egypt, we're Kemetic, boasting that crap. The Most High is going to shut you Negroes down. Okay? The Most High is going to show you that you are the Hebrew Israelites in these last days.
That's right.
All truth is going to come from this Bible in the last days. Okay? All that crap. Yes, Egypt was great. Don't get me wrong. Yep. Egypt was great. But the Most High is telling you, you're not those people. There are many different black nations in the earth, man. Many black nations. Yeah. Okay? So when you want to ascribe greatness, Egypt wasn't the only great kingdom of rulership. You had many great kingdoms too. Okay? Continue.
Their iniquity, which bringeth their iniquity to remembrance, when they shall look after them. But they shall know that I am the Most High power.
All right, so that's it. So Egypt was a base kingdom from that point. So when the Greeks came in, it wasn't no more Egyptians ruling.
That's it.
So there's no way she could have been black. You think that Patan is going to allow a Negro to get up there and rule over them? When it's their time to rule the earth? When it's your time to rule the earth, nobody gets in place of your rulership.
That's right.
Okay?
Right.
When we rule under Solomon, David, and Saul, nobody took over our rulership. But when we fell, that's when the nations came and took us down.
That's right.
All right? In any nation, okay?
Disobey.
When we disobeyed that, when the Romans came into power, ain't nobody usurped the Roman power and rulership in the earth. All right? Yes.
This is the book that.
Rakah?
Yes.
Rakah? Okay.
Yes. Pharaohs and Kings.
Right.
Right. This is the book, Pharaohs and Kings.
Right.
David ruled our old Egypt.
Y'all remember King Zedekiah in the scriptures, right? The last king of Judah. Y'all remember his fate, right?
That was the last of our kingdom too.
You know, like what Ben said, Israelites love to go down to Egypt. They love to make alliances with Egypt. That's what Zedekiah did.
Yeah.
Okay, and when Nebuchadnezzar came in, took him out, what did they do first? They killed his sons right before him, and then they took his eyes out and put him in prison, and he died in prison. The last thing that he saw was his sons getting their head cut off, because he was blind the rest of his life. And I remember we was in the streets. I think we was on 125th Street out there teaching. You remember that time one of the Egyptology brothers came up, and he said, Nebuchadnezzar never conquered Egypt. Well, we just read, I mean, all that area that he conquered, you might as well say he conquered Egypt, because in the British Museum, it got steles, it got prisons and all that, documented that Nebuchadnezzar took Egypt.
He took, matter of fact, I had a map and a place of all the areas that Nebuchadnezzar, let me pull up real quick. Go ahead and speak it on.
Yeah, so pull up that bust. Everybody got that, what Zaquan had up? Put up that bust of Alexander the Greek as a pharaoh, right? See, they was calling themselves pharaohs and all that, man. You know, worshiping the Egyptian gods, building temples to their gods. Yeah, taking everything like they're doing today, copying everything. Yeah. Alexander embraced the Egyptian gods. He prayed at their temples, built the temple to the mother goddess Isis. You got the picture of Isis?
All right. All right.
If not, you can come back a little later. Let Ben read what he got. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
The extent of the Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar was a bad dude, brothers. Okay? Don't sleep on Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
All right, the largest boundaries of his empire, the northern boundary, all right, the northern part of his boundary started from Carchemish and Cilicia in the northwest. His eastern boundary, the cities of the Medes and the Persians. He took over the cities of the Medes and the Persians.
Right.
So he went halfway to the Persian Empire, okay? And the Persian Empire extended from Iran down to India all the way down, eventually went down to Ethiopia and Egypt. But their main empire started from Iran and all of India, Afghanistan. That was the Persian Empire, okay? And that's a vast amount of land because India is a large continent, okay? So the Persian Empire ruled from Iran, all of India, Afghanistan. That was their main home base. But eventually they added on other rulership and lands and territories. So the eastern boundary, the cities of the Medes and the Persians, and the western boundary, the Mediterranean Sea with its cities, all the way to Cyprus. In the south, the western boundary extended to Egypt. So his empire extended to Egypt. So if his boundary extended to Egypt, you didn't think he ruled in Egypt?
Yeah.
If he ruled all these other countries? Let's be real, okay? And the southern boundary went all the way to Arabia and westward to Egypt. And could I back this up in the scripture? Yes,
Yep.
it could be backed up in the scripture. All right? Could I read?
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
Let's go to the book of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, and start here from Jeremiah the 20. Jeremiah 25. Okay, Jeremiah 25, and also we're going to get also to Jeremiah the 27th chapter. Okay, so let's read Jeremiah 25 real quick. Jeremiah 25 and start from the 9th verse. Jeremiah 25 and 9.
Read out the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, verse 9. Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north.
Which was the family of Nebuchadnezzar. And now Nebuchadnezzar had a large family. I'm going to name some of his sons. All right? He started from 626 BC. Nabopolassar, Nebuchadnezzar II, Nebuchadnezzar I. You had Amel-Marduk, Neriglissar, Labasi-Marduk, and Nabonidus. These were his sons and his grandsons that ruled this earth at that time. All right, so continue ruling on.
Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, said the Most High, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant.
So the Most High said, you my servant. The Most High said, I'm going to use you. You're going to be my hand to run and control this earth. The Most High is a bad dude. The Most High put the power in people to run this earth. Okay, continue.
And will bring them against this land and against the inhabitants thereof.
So the Most High brought Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians, against us, Israel. Go ahead.
And against all these nations round about.
And all the nations round about. Go ahead.
And will utterly destroy them and make them an astonishment and an hissing and a perpetual desolation.
Okay, jump down to 14.
Verse 14. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I will recompense them according to their deeds.
Okay, now jump down to the 18th verse.
To wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah.
So beginning with us, he nailed us, he conquered us because we were rebellious. He was the first on the Most High's hit list. Was us. Most High said, I'm gonna stomp you Negroes out by using Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead.
And the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation, and astonishment, and hissing, and a curse, as it is this day.
Go ahead.
Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Oh, not Egypt, brother. Not the great Egypt, brother. Shut up. He came and he conquered Egypt. Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he took off that Egyptian pharaoh that was ruling there at that particular time. All right, go ahead.
Pharaoh,
read again.
Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and his servants.
And his who? And his servants. Okay, go ahead.
And his princes, and all his people.
And all his people became servants to Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 20. And all the mingled people and all the kings of the land of Uz,
So Edom, even Edom fell under the Babylonians too. Okay, go ahead.
and all the kings of the land of the
The
Philistines,
Philistines fell into the hand of the Babylonians. Go ahead.
and Ashkelon,
And Ashkelon, which
right.
were another group of what you call Africans. Okay, go ahead.
and Azar,
And Azar, go ahead.
and Ekron,
And Ekron. These were all families to the Philistines.
right.
First cousins to the Egyptians. Okay, go ahead.
and the remnants of Ashdod.
And the remnant of Ashdod. All right, go ahead.
Verse 21, Edom,
Edom, go ahead.
and Moab,
And Moab.
and
okay.
the children of Ammon,
And the children of Ammon. So all these nations fell
Right.
under the Babylonians. Go ahead.
and all the kings of Tyrus,
And all the kings of Tyrus, which was another African nation. All right, go ahead.
and all the kings of Zidon,
All the kings of Zidon, another African nation. Go ahead.
and the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea,
Which were the children of Japheth that were upon the sea. Even they became tribute unto the Nebuchadnezzar.
it.
Go ahead.
Dedan, Tema,
These were the Arabs, okay, in Arabia. Go ahead.
and Buz,
And Buz, go ahead.
and all that are in the utmost corners,
Go ahead.
and all the kings of Arabia,
All the kings of Arabia came under Nebuchadnezzar.
All
Nebuchadnezzar
of them.
took all the kingdoms down. And after he did it, the Persians did the same thing. Then the Greeks, then the Romans. Okay, go ahead.
and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert,
That dwell in the desert. Who dwell in the desert? The children of Ishmael, the Arabs. Okay, go ahead.
and all the king of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam,
All the kings of Elam, another black nation, but these were the
Right.
sons of Shem. These were the progenitors of East India, the Persian Empire, Elam.
Right.
Okay? Elam was a black nation, but they were not Africans.
Right.
Okay? He took down Elam. E-L-A-M, not Edom. Elam. Okay, go ahead.
and all the kings of the Medes,
And all the kings of the Medes, which were Japhetic, he took them down too. The Medes were Japhetic people that co-inhabited and ruled with the Persians.
Right.
Okay? So people said the Medes were white. Japhet is white. But the Medes were not. The Medes were Japhetic people. The Medes looked just like the Persians. Continue.
Right.
verse 26, and all the kings of the north,
And all the kings of the north, go ahead.
far and near, one with another, and all the kingdom of the world, which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Shishak shall drink after them.
See, the Most High said
Right.
all the kingdom of the earth served Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar, that's
So
it.
don't tell me he didn't conquer Egypt. Egypt was done. Okay? When the time Nebuchadnezzar came in there, Egypt was done. Okay? And that's
it.
on that. There's more to prove
Right.
that, but I just want to show and validate the source, which is the Most High's prophecies. Okay? Go ahead, Ash.
Let me get Jeremiah 4 and 7. And when you read in Daniel's in the scriptures say that the Most High ruleth what? In the kingdom of men. The Most High set up and he tears down. We're in this situation, man, because we had it going on. But we uplift ourselves, got too proud with the Most High squat us down. But the Most High rule in the kingdom of men. He controls history.
That's right.
He controls rulership, kingdoms, and all that. Okay, begin to read Jeremiah 4 and 7.
We had the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, and verse 7. The lion is come up from his thicket.
Now, when we read this, the lion has come up from his thicket. A lot of us was looking at,
That was
it's
Yahushua.
Yahushua. Okay, but when you read the whole chapter, this is Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
Because when you go back to Daniel, what was the symbol? The lion.
The lion with wings.
the
Okay,
wings.
yeah, okay. Now start that over again.
Reading out the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, and verse 7. The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way.
And the destroyer of the Gentile, where was Nebuchadnezzar's thicket? Babylon.
Babylon.
And like what Ben was saying, took over the world. The destroyer of the nations is on his way. Continue.
He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate,
Including Israel, the Israelites, including Jerusalem. Go ahead.
and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant.
Without an inhabitant. Read that 8th verse.
Verse 8. For this For this gird you with sackcloth, lament and howl, for the fierce anger of the Most High is not turned back from
Yeah,
us.
because now we're reading this from the prophet Jeremiah. It was the prophet Jeremiah that was trying to tell the Israelite kings, the kings of Judah, Zedekiah, look, man, the Most High is serious. You better serve Nebuchadnezzar. Don't go down to Egypt. But they didn't listen to the prophet. So they was taken in captivity. Nebuchadnezzar came 3 times. The first time, I believe it was Ezekiel went. And the second time, Daniel went. It was Ezekiel or Daniel with the first or the second. But the nobles went with the first and the second deportation. Then when he came in 586 BC, that was it. Took Israel into captivity. And then afterwards, they let Jeremiah go back to Jerusalem, and he left the poor people in the lands, you know, to till it and so forth. These were just the poor people of the nation of Israel. But he took the nobles. That's why, get me that scripture where it say, bind their nobles with chains. I think it's in Psalms, I believe. Is it in Psalms 140, 147? Because
149.
149? Yeah. Because you go for the nobles, you go for the rulers, you go for the dignitaries, man. You go for the honorable men. That's who you go for. You got it? Read it.
I got it too. Go ahead.
Reading out the book of Psalms.
And Zaquan, while he's reading that, get me that bust of Ptolemy I as Pharaoh of Egypt. Okay, that's Ptolemy I Soter, S-O-T-E-R, which that name means savior. Okay, and then I'm going to yield and let Ben come back. Go ahead and read that, brother.
Reading out the book of Psalms, chapter 149, verse 8.
Come on.
To bind their kings with chains.
Come a little louder with that.
To bind their kings with chains.
Right, to bind their kings, to bind the nation kings with chains, like they did us. Come on.
And their nobles with fetters of iron.
And their nobles with fetters of iron. Their elites. Come on. Finish a little bit off. Finish the bottom of it.
Verse 9. To execute upon them.
Right. You want to leave that out?
To execute upon them the judgment.
That's your question. You wanted to leave that out? You're going to bind them. Now what you going to do with them?
To execute
You get ready to give the mic back. You want to execute judgment, right? Come on, read it then, brother. Go ahead.
Verse 9. To execute upon them the judgment written.
The judgment what? Written. Where is it written? In the scriptures. Is that it? All his saints?
Dishonor have all his saints.
Dishonor have who?
Have all his saints.
Have who? All his saints, brother. This would be an honor. Now, this is a bust of, that's it with that, Katazar. This is a bust of Ptolemy of Egypt as Pharaoh. See, they was taking the titles, Greeks, as pharaohs of Egypt. Ptolemy I assumed the title of Pharaoh in around, I would say approximately 305 BC. Okay, like I said, they was worshiping the gods, building temples to their gods. They had nothing, man. You know, just like today, they have nothing. They take everything from everybody. Okay, now who are the original Jews? The tribe of Judah. We are. But who's claiming that? Right.
Amalek.
Okay, and I'm going to pass it back to you, bro.
Right, I'm going to add to that. Yeah, that was a spirit too, God. I just pulled it up and actually just the same thing.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm going to read. This is the Ptolemaic dynasty. Okay, ancient Greek, sometimes referred to as the Legate dynasty. Ptolemy's father, Lagus, was a Macedonian Greek. Royal dynasty which ruled the Ptolemaic kingdom in ancient Egypt during the Hellenistic period. Their rule lasted for 275 years,
right,
from 305 to 30 BC. The Ptolemaic was the last dynasty of ancient Egypt, but it was not a true native Egyptian dynasty.
Right.
Okay? They took over Egypt and ruled damn near for almost 300 years. Just like the white man been ruling here for how long now?
200 is over 250.
Since what, they got independence from Great Britain, but Britain been here, the British been here for at least 400 years. So could we say America is a black rulership? No. It's a white rulership right now for the last 400 years. And who are the slaves? Who are the slaves? So that's what happened to Egypt. When they took over Egypt, Egypt was done for. Everybody else was just slave, serving the Greeks and getting ready to serve the Roman Empire.
Right.
Okay? So I'm going to continue reading some more on this here. Because our people got to get this through the thick skull, man. I understand we want to link our history or link something to greatness, but not every anything that's black relates to us.
Yeah, go into the Bible.
No, but no.
They don't want to do that?
No, because the Bible, what's the white man book?
White man
what's
wrote
the
it?
White man. They got so much hatred for the Most High in the Bible that they give you every excuse. No, you Hebrews, we don't want to deal with that. But nigga, you're gonna deal with it because what's coming now is a train. This train that's coming, is moving with a Hebrew vibration. Ain't moving with no other vibration. Either you get on board or you're gonna get run over, nigga.
Run over.
Okay.
Get off the tracks.
Get off the tracks, man. Or jump on board and follow the lead, brother. Because all other BS is gonna be trodden down and destroyed. The Zion train is coming, brother. Even Bob Marley said, Zion train is coming our way. Zion train, the Hebrew Israelites are coming, brother. Ain't nothing gonna stop it.
Yes, salvation.
You Egyptologists, you Kemetic fanatics, you Haile Selassie fanatics, none of you that's into that Afrocentricity is gonna stop the Hebrew Israelite that's coming. Not even the white man, the devil is gonna stop it. Nobody.
It's coming from the Most High.
It's coming directly from the Most High. You can't stop this. You either step to the side or jump on board. Get on board, man, and ride that train because the Most High said all nations is going to take hold of the skirt of him that's an Israelite and said, we will go with you.
Right.
For we have heard that the Most High is with you.
Out of fear.
Out of fear, man. I'm telling you,
fear.
all you Negroes out there that's into that crap, you better drop it and face the tune that's coming, man. Don't let your pride and your ego hold you back.
Right.
Talk about, nah, I ain't dealing with that. I ain't no Hebrew. I'm a Kemetic. Okay, so be it. But when that time comes, don't say you were not warned. Don't say you were not taught.
You know what, too, Ben?
Yeah.
And the people, the brothers and sisters that are acknowledging that they Hebrew Israelites, they got to get themselves together too, man. Because we doing a lot of mess ups out there.
A lot of shit.
We're messing up out there as Hebrew Israelites with them border blues and fringes. So we on that track too. We better jump aboard too. So that means we got to be 100. We got to be straight A if we are representation and representing the Most High. We can't be on the internet and all over the neighborhoods and world doing all this wickedness, man, and then making the Most High look bad. Okay, the scripture speaks about the disciples. If you love me, keep my commandments, and the world will know that you're my disciples if you have respect for one another. So Hebrew Israelites have to kind of clean up too, man. Not just the people out there that don't know, but the Israelites that know, that's holding this book, that can quote 1,000 scriptures and know them by heart and put on the nice garments. We got to get on track. As well.
Right.
Okay, we have to get on track. And I say we. Okay, and I yield.
Because the scripture tells you, it said, to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
And the Most High said, the more you know, you're going to be beaten with many stripes. And the less that you know, you're still going to get you're going to get an ass whooping too.
Okay.
Okay, let me put it that way too. Okay? So you're going to get it too. So there's no excuse in this thing, man. All right? So
Israel is going to get it worse. Israel is going to get it worse. The scripture in Peter said that the judgment is going to come to the Israelite first. And then it reads on, what do you think going to happen to the people that don't know? So it always going to be directed at Israelites first, Jerusalem first, Hebrew Israelites first. It always came that way because we were the one that was messing up with the Most High. So it always going to be directed to the ones that know better. You see that? So while the Greeks was ruling Egypt, do you think the Egyptians was having insurrections? Yeah,
Yes.
but they couldn't overtake the Greeks because it was their time. It's just like we in America, in this country, that's insurrections. Y'all remember the earlier 1900s, and then the time period that you can remember like the 1960s and the 70s, the Black Panthers, the Black Liberation Armies, its brothers and sisters still in prison for that revolution back then. They are still in prison, brother, some of the Panthers. So that was insurrection, always have been. But if it's that nation time to rule, there's nothing you can do, okay? Because the Most High, scriptures say that he rules in the kingdom of what? In the kingdom of men. And I yield.
Right. So I'm going to finish this here. It says, so Pharaoh Ptolemy Soter, the country, he ruled ancient Egypt, but he was of the ancient Macedonian. Founded in 305 BC, the founder of it was Ptolemy I Soter. Final ruler, Cleopatra VII and Ptolemy XV of Egypt. Ptolemy 16 of Syria, Ptolemy of Mauritania, all right, which is in North Africa, Mauritania. Then you had the final head was Drusilla. Titles was Pharaoh, Basileus of Egypt, king of Macedonia, king of Mauritania. So the Greeks ruled all North Africa too, all right? King of Syria, king of Cyrene, just like the Romans. Who defeated Hannibal? Did Hannibal put up a resistance against the Romans? Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
And I gotta give Hannibal props. He fought courageously, but he wasn't gonna outlast and outdo the Roman Empire because prophecy has to take place. He fought many wars against the Roman army.
He came close.
He came close.
He came at their back door knocking.
Yeah, but prophecy has to kick in, brothers. You understand? All right. Now, Ptolemy, one of the seven, all right, who was a bodyguard companion, a general, and possible half-brother of Alexander the Great, was appointed a satrap of Egypt after Alexander's death in 323 BC. In 305 BC, he declared himself Pharaoh Ptolemy I, later known as Soter, savior. The Egyptians soon accepted the Ptolemies as the successors to the pharaohs of independent Egypt. Ptolemy's family ruled Egypt until the Roman conquest of 30 BC. Like the earlier dynasties of ancient Egypt, the Ptolemaic dynasty practiced inbreeding, including sibling marriage, but this did not start in earnest until nearly a century into the dynasty's history. All the male rulers of the dynasty took the name Ptolemy, while queens, regents were called Cleopatra.
Right.
So that didn't come from the Egyptians. That came from the Greeks, the title Cleopatra's. Okay? Arsinoe, or Berenice, the most famous member of that line, was the last queen, Cleopatra VII, known for her role in the Roman political battles between Julius Caesar and Pompey, and later between Octavian and Mark Antony. Her apparent suicide at the conquest by Rome marked the end of the Ptolemaic rule in Egypt. So that end, the Ptolemaic rule, which she came out of, that end, that particular rule of the Ptolemies, then came the Egyptian rule in Egypt. So she was not black African.
Nope.
Okay? Maybe her skin was kind of dark, but she was not a true native Egyptian. Okay? So that's it. My point on that.
Yeah, she might have had pigmentation. I'm just saying. Because Antiochus III had married Arsinoe III, who was the daughter of a king by the name of King Mithridates, was the king of Pontus. And you check the Pontus, it goes back to Persia. So, and his daughter, Antiochus III, daughter was Cleopatra I. So maybe that pigmentation was strong enough to carry all the way down. I don't know.
Right.
But regardless, if she dark-skinned or black, her lineage, if she was of the Greeks.
Right.
She was of the Ptolemies. Her seed, the lineage was of the Ptolemies.
And all she was doing was fighting to reestablish the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt. That's what she was doing. That was her sole purpose.
For her people.
Fair.
The Ptolemaic dynasty, not for the Egyptians. Yes.
I was going to say her name indicates that. Because Cleopatra is Greek for glory of the Father.
Of the Father.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
And there was a Cleopatra. There was a Cleopatra called Cleopatra of Jerusalem. Now, from reading, it reads that she was one of the Herod's wives, and she used that name Cleopatra of Jerusalem to distinguish herself from the Ptolemaic Cleopatras. And the history reads that she was the daughter of a nobleman of Jerusalem. So I'm looking at that may have been an Israelite. But then, when you read in the history, they're going to have, Israelite, she may be an Edomite or Phoenician. They're going to have all that other stuff there. But if she was the daughter of a nobleman of Jerusalem, and if she was Cleopatra of Jerusalem, she may have been an Israelite. And she was one of the wives of the Herod, which Miriam the first, who was a Levite, part of the Maccabees, was one of the wives of the Herod as well. So they was marrying dark-skinned women, but the Ptolemies, I didn't read any of that. Now, the only time I read where they mixed was they was mixing with the Seleucids, and the Seleucids is Greeks like the Ptolemies. Okay, I didn't read where they was mixing with the natives, Egyptians. I didn't read any of that. Okay, but if they did, if Cleopatra was dark skinned, her lineage goes all the way back to the Ptolemies. She was Greek. Okay, come on, Ben.
And when you get a point where your kingdom or your rulership start to mix with other people, that's the end of your rulership. Just like the time of the Maccabees, when they started to marry into the Herods, that was the end of Israel right there.
That was it.
That was the end. The Most High said, that's it. That's it. Your line is done. Okay? And that's the same thing with Egypt, with any place, any rulership. Right? When Herod married, Agrippa married Bernice, that was it. That was the line, the end of the Maccabean dynasty, man. And they kept that lineage and that rulership for at least over 100 years. And that shows you the weakening point when they start to marry outside of their nation and start to inbreed. That's a problem.
Right.
When that happens, your kingdom is done. Okay? So Egypt, you're not coming back. You're finished. Okay? Yes, you had a glorious past. You could romanticize and glorify. But Egypt, you're not coming back. It's done for you, baby. Okay? You have to serve the God of Israel and the children of Israel. Whether you like it
or not.
Yep.
Okay? So it's finished for you and all nations.
That's it.
All right? Go ahead, Ash.
And in the book of Zechariah, it say if Egypt don't want to serve, they ain't getting no rain.
That's right.
They got to come up. They got to have respect for the feast days. They got to have respect for the Mashiach, the king priest, and they got to have respect for the ruler of the universe, and that's the Most High. And they have to respect what was the feast? Tabernacles. You don't give respect to that, you gets no rain.
That's right.
You gets no respect. You gets no rain. That means your animals gonna die and you gonna die. It's gonna be a famine. They got to give respect to the Most High and the Most High's people.
And why did the Most High single out Egypt in that particular verse? The Most High single out Egypt. The family of Egypt go not up. Why? Because they're the most proudest of all the kingdoms that rule. They figured they were the true gods of the earth. Okay? You were the supreme divine gods of the earth. But no, you were not. Maybe for that set time that you were. But you're not the true divine gods of the earth. And the Most High is going to let you know. That's what he said. And the family of Egypt go not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacle. It's not going to be no rain. The Most High signaled them out for a particular reason. Because the Most High know a lot of our people love to run to that Egypt nonsense. Civilization. Yes, Egypt was great. And they all were all black people that came out of Africa. But all black people are not the same people. Okay? You can't call a person from Ghana a Nigerian or vice versa. They distinguish between their tribal names and affiliation. You can't call a person from Ghana an Ethiopian. You can't call a person from Nigeria a Ugandan. It's a different. Africa is a diverse and complex of nations in Africa, man. Okay? There are many nations in Africa. And all black people are not the same.
What's that brother's name? We used to work together, Abraham and Fufu. They both was African, but they was from different.
One was from Gambia,
right,
and one was from Mali.
And they hated one another. They was almost fighting every day, man. You know, one I think Abraham was the manager. He couldn't tell him what to do. You know, they was at one another every day, but they was both Africans.
But they spoke different languages too.
Right. The culture was different and everything, man. Yeah, so if we claim it to be Africans, I mean, what country? What part? Just Africa. What part, though?
Yeah. And our people love to run with Egypt because of the great length of time that Egypt ruled for. You understand?
When did that title, I was reading something about Jesse Jackson in, 1988? He came up with that title, African Americans. Came in a meeting, put it on the table, and the people was looking at one another confused, and then two white women in the back, they don't know who the hell they are. Which they didn't and still don't know. And he instituted that back in 1988, African Americans.
I want to say this too. And then, you know when that Egyptology stuff started bombarding us as a people? In the 60s. In the early, mid-60s. All right? After Sheikh Anta Diop proved that Egypt was a black rulership and dynasty, then you had Dr. Ben, then you had, what's his name? Dr. Henry Clark.
Clark, yeah.
What's his name? This other historian. All of them was, and then Dr.
Jeffries?
Jeffries,
Yeah.
Smalls.
Yeah.
Professor Smalls.
Professor Small, yes.
You had a whole list of them that was pushing that Egyptology. And Dr. Ben, before he became a Egyptologist, what was he? Who knows in the audience? Before Dr. Ben went to Egyptology, what was he? He was a Hebrew Israelite.
Hebrew Israelite.
His name, Ben Yakanan, is not Egyptian.
Right. And he kept that.
He kept that. So why he didn't change to some Egyptian name? As Tutmos or Akhenaten or Amuz. Why he didn't change it?
And he knew deep that he was a Hebrew Israelite because he was around Rabbi Matthews. He was around them. I mean, going to their meetings and everything, going to their classes. So Rabbi Matthews was around the giants. So Dr. Ben was around Rabbi Matthews. And what's the other brother? Dr. York. He was bar mitzvah by Rabbi Matthews. So he started out Hebrew Israelite. If he was bar mitzvah by Rabbi Matthews, so they grow and study and grow and then create something else, you know, expand a little bit, but they expanded a little bit more into left field. See?
And then Dr. Ben, the reason why he went to Egyptology, because he didn't have no faith in the Bible. He would read the Bible, but he had no faith. He wanted tangible evidence to prove everything. He didn't have no faith in what the Bible was saying. So that's why he went into Egyptology.
And they wasn't really spiritual.
Right.
You know, when somebody asks you, man, how can Noah get all them animals on one boat? You know, when they talk like that, man, and you know, that mean they're not spiritual. You know, they looking at everything on a carnal, on a physical level.
On a scientific level.
They understand
they want to put it on a scientific level. But the Most High, the Most High is science, but the Most High goes beyond science.
Right.
All right? The Most High works in a spiritual way that will baffle.
That'll make you go all.
Baffle scholars and anybody, man. And that's why, because they didn't have the faith and they were carnal. You understand? But now, in him doing that, he exposed and brought to light that Egypt is a black culture. And if Egypt is a black culture, the Hebrews had to be black too. You understand? But they don't want to touch on that. They still want to hop into Egypt and leave out the Hebrews. And then what makes it so stupid about them, they'll tell you, oh, the Hebrews never existed.
Right,
But yet
right.
the Hebrews stole everything from Egypt. So which one is it,
Right.
idiot? If the Hebrews never existed, how could we stole what belongs to Egypt? They'll tell you, oh, Moses got the Ten Commandments from Egypt. But you said the Hebrews never existed.
Moses didn't exist.
You dumb, you make me sick, and the Most High is gonna destroy you niggas for that. I'm gonna call you like it is, man. Okay? Either we existed or we stole from Egypt. Which one is it? But the Most High is gonna confound you, man.
If you didn't exist, you can't steal
That's
nothing.
right.
I mean, you go into the Old Testament, man. You read about the kings. There's many classes we have done. It's so many steles, so many plaques that's in the museums, British Museum, museums in Chicago, all over, that have steles of the same kings that you read about in the Bible. Even the Gentile kings, the Assyrian kings that had anything to do with the Northern Kingdom kings like Jeroboam II and Jehu, they got plaques. They wrote the records of when they destroyed nations or when they took the Northern Kingdom into captivity or when the Northern Kingdom paid tribute. They put it in records. It says this today. It's out there today. The steles.
It's amazing, man.
The plaques. The black obelisk. The black obelisk is Shalmaneser. Speaking about the Northern Kingdom King Jehu. Because I think Jehu is bowing down to Shalmaneser.
Paying tribute,
paying tribute to the Syrian king. All that is out there. So if the Bible is not a history book, if it's a fake book, well, the British Museum and all these people that putting these plaques and steles out there, you got to go get them.
Right.
Because they lying.
Right. And then who did the Romans destroy? Did the Romans destroy no people in 70 AD? That's common known historical facts. The Romans destroyed Israel in 70 AD. So who did they destroy?
Right.
Come on, man, it's amazing, man. But they do that to make you think that the Bible is non-valid. The Hebrews are nobody.
It has no spirit
and
in it. Yeah.
Everything has to be based on Egypt. You understand? Yes.
Nehemiah Yasharallah asked, but Moses and Joseph learned the ways of Egypt and mathematics. Moses learned from Egypt. Was it Abraham?
Well, Abraham taught. Find me that scripture in Psalms. Is it no Joseph? Joseph taught
in the Josephus, yeah. Joseph taught the senators.
And one in Abraham is in the Josephus,
yeah.
But Joseph, that's in the scriptures that he taught them mathematics?
Yeah. And science, yeah. Remember, Egypt learned from many nations too. They learned from the Asiatic, the Shemitic nations, okay? Egypt didn't just have everything on its own, okay? They learned from other nations too that brought, Egypt was like a melting pot at a particular point too, okay? Because the Ethiopians brought understanding there too, the Cushites.
Right.
The Cushites ruled Egypt too at one point. They were rivals.
Right.
They took over the Egyptian dynasty and ruled, okay? So when Abraham went down there, the Hyksos was ruling. When Joseph went down there, the Hyksos were ruling, which was an Asiatic people. Right. And they brought what? The best chariots into Egypt. When the Hyksos brought the most sophisticated weaponry and chariots in Egypt. Okay? Right. So all nations contributed to certain things for a certain empire. Yes, we learned from Egypt.
Yeah.
Moses was learning Egypt.
Every captivity we was in.
Yeah.
You know, we
learned from nations. Right. You understand? Moses learned from the Egyptians. So how you gonna say if Moses never existed, how could he have learned from the Egyptians? See how they contradict themselves, but they do that to people that don't understand or know the Bible, who have not studied, so they could have you hand up in that Egyptology. But once you study this Bible covers everything. Right. The Spirit of the Most High will show you those things. Yes, Judah. Yeah. Yeah. You understand? Yes, Yahweh.
The scripture shows that Egypt was getting ready to go into famine because of Joseph.
Right.
Right.
Joseph was the really teaching them and guiding them.
And instructing them, yeah.
And instructing them in the wisdom and knowledge that they have.
Right. Because the Most High imparted that wisdom to Joseph to save Egypt. And the Most High did it for that reason, because we were coming into Egypt after that period of time. We came down to Egypt. Because remember, were we born in Egypt as a nation? Yes, we were born. We were in Africa. You understand? We were born in Egypt, Africa, as a nation. And we came out of Egypt as a nation. All right? And the Most High, after we came out, he instilled and gave us our culture. Okay? He took us out of that frame of the waters that we were drinking and embedded in Egypt.
Right.
That's why the Most High said he washed us.
Yeah, flushed us out. Yeah.
He purged us from all that stuff we were taught in Egypt. Now, some of the good stuff we might have kept. You understand? Like the military tactics that Moses learned. He kept that. Because certain things is beneficial in life.
Right.
What he learned in Egypt, Moses perfected. The geography, the military mechanism, how to be a general, Moses utilized that. That's why when he went into the land, he knew the terrain, how to guide us through different areas of the land, how to be a shepherd over the people.
Right.
Just like when we leave here, the skills that you have learned here in Babylon, you just going to put it to the side? No, you utilize that skill.
Right.
You understand? Because everything is about progression. Keep building and learning. You don't just put it to the side. Oh, no, I'm not going to use that skill I got here.
Right.
If you learn to be a carpenter here, oh, I'm not going to use it. No, put it to use. You elevate that skill and talent.
You never stop learning, man.
You understand?
Yeah,
so yes, we learned from other nations. We took from Egypt, but the Most High gave us the greatest knowledge and wisdom upon the face of the earth, which is this book called the Torah, the laws that he gave us, his wisdom. All right? We want to bring out about how Joseph taught the Egyptians, his Senate.
You got something after that, Rakar? Oh, that's it. That's it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Laura, you got the mic? Okay.
Reading the book of Psalms, chapter 105 and 21. He made him Lord over his house and ruler of all his substance.
Right. And now this was Joseph in Egypt. Remember, while Joseph was a governor or ruler in Egypt, it was under the H.O.D.C rule. It was not under the native Egyptians. Okay? The H.O.D.C took over Egypt for almost 200 years and ruled Egypt. They took down the native Egyptians. Then after that, Ahmose I came and took down the H.O.D.C, and he became the Pharaoh of Egypt. He came from the Thebes dynasty. When he took down the H.O.D.C, he became that ruler beginning of the 18th dynasty. So Joseph was in the 17th dynasty of Egypt. Go ahead.
To bind his princes at his pleasure and teach his senators wisdom.
See that?
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
Right. So that's the time when we came down to Egypt, right after the H.O.D.C rulership. So Joseph died before the H.O.D.C ended their rulership. All right? The H.O.D.C were not native Egyptians. All right? Go ahead.
Read the 22nd verse again.
To bind his princes.
To bind his princes, come on, at his pleasure. Go ahead.
And teach his senators wisdom.
And teach his senators wisdom. Go ahead. Continue.
Verse 23, 24.
Read 23 again.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
Right. So we live in the land of Egypt. We lived there for a long time in Egypt. All right. Go ahead.
And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies.
Right. Check that out. And he made us stronger than our enemies. All right. Go ahead.
He turned their hearts to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham.
And that's the true name of Egypt, the land of Ham.
Right.
And that's where the Egyptians get the word Kemet from.
Right.
Kemet. It comes from Ham, from Noah's son. Okay? The Bible lets you know that Egypt was black way back then, way before any archaeologists knew that. Way before Sheikh Anta Diop and way before any archaeologist, the Bible let you know that Egypt was a black country and nation and people. Because the Bible tells you that Ham, which is Ham, is the father of the Egyptians and the Ethiopians and all those African nations. All right, go ahead.
Verse 28, he sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. He turned their waters into blood and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chambers of their kings. He spake, and there came diverse sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts. He gave them a hail for rain and flaming fire in their land.
And that's what the Most High did to the Egyptians. All right, go ahead.
He smote their vines, also their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He spake, and the locust came, and caterpillars that without number, and did eat up all the herbs in their land, and devoured the fruit of their ground.
And the Most High did that to show Egypt and all nations, when you mess with the people of the Most High, this is what's going to happen to you. When you touch the apple of the Most High's eyes. Go ahead.
He smote all the firstborn in their land, the chief of all their strength. He brought them forth also with silver and gold. There was not one feeble person among their tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed.
Yeah, Egypt was glad when we left. When we left, they said, good riddance. You people are gone.
Get them up out of here.
Okay? Because the Most High put pure hell in Egypt, man. Okay? And even coming to that point, Egypt was starting to dwindle. Egypt was going down after we left. But it mainly went down right after Nebuchadnezzar took and sacked Egypt. All right? That's it on that. Now go to Acts. In Acts, right? Because they like to say the Hebrews never existed. They're a bunch of goat herders. Ain't nobody else to eat. But yet you claim Moses was learned by the Egyptians. So how could we never exist? But Moses learned. So they love to use that now to pop Egypt and say, see, Moses learned from the Egyptians. Yes, because he was schooled, he was brought up in Egypt. Just like we're brought up in school here in Babylon. What are we being schooled with?
Right.
With white supremacy. All right? Acts the 7th chapter. Go to Acts 7th chapter.
Elders, we have a question here.
Yes.
From Nehemiah Yasharla again. He's asking, so Joseph was in the 17th dynasty. So that means what dynasty that Moses came out of Egypt during the Exodus?
The 18th dynasty. The 18th dynasty of Egypt.
Right.
Joseph was the end of the 17th dynasty. That's why Ammuz became the ruler that expelled the Hyksos, and he became the first ruler of the 18th dynasty of Egypt. So the 18th dynasty was a dynasty that we served slavery in Egypt. That 18th dynasty. And that lasted for 215 years. I mean, the 18th dynasty lasted for 255 years of reign. The 18th dynasty of Egypt ruled for 255 years. And we served 215 years in that dynasty. 80 years was slavery, all right? And the other years was us living in Egypt. All right? So Acts the 7th chapter.
Can I read this real quick, Ben?
Yes.
Exodus 7, in Exodus chapter 1, verse 7 and 8, answer to his question after Joseph. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty. And the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Right. So right after Joseph died, this new Pharaoh came into play. All right? That knew not Joseph. And that began the 18th dynasty.
Right.
All right? Ammuz was the successor of that dynasty. Then after that, his son Amenhotep. All right? So let's go to Acts, the 7th chapter, and start here from the 12th verse, Acts 7 and 12.
We are to Acts chapter 7, verse 12. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first.
So this was still at this particular time when Jacob heard about that. That was when Joseph was ruling in the 17th dynasty of Egypt. All right, and Joseph was coming to the ending point of the 17th dynasty of Egypt, while the H.O.D.C was still ruling over Egypt. Go ahead.
And at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 75 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers.
All right. So that was, this was coming to the ending of the 17th dynasty. Now the slavery started in what dynasty? The 18th dynasty. All right. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And were carried over into Sychem and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Sychem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, the Most High had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt.
And we grew and multiplied in Egypt.
Right.
All right. And under Joseph, we were not enslaved. During the time of Joseph, we had free reign in Egypt. Go ahead.
Verse 18, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph.
Okay, so when Joseph died, then this new king came in. And that's when the slavery kicked in.
Yeah.
Right after that, the slavery kicked in. He said, man, I don't give a damn about Joseph. I'm the new ruler of Egypt. All right, go ahead.
The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children to the end they might not live. In which time Moses was born.
In which time Moses was born. Moses was born during the time of the oppression and the slavery. That's when Moses was born.
Right.
All right? The deliverer. Go ahead.
And was exceedingly fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians.
See? And Moses was learning all the wisdom of the Egyptians because he was born in Egypt. He was raised by the Egyptians' elites. So of course they're going to teach you. If you were raised by the elites of this country, they're going to take you and teach you everything that they know. That's what Moses did. They taught Moses. He went to the best schools. He was taught by the best educators. But in turn, Moses said, to hell no, I ain't no Egyptian. I'm going with my people.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
And was mighty in words and in deeds.
He was mighty in words and deeds. Moses was fluent in the Egyptian language. Okay? But Aaron was fluent in the Hebrew. That's why the Most High said, make Aaron your mouthpiece.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 23. And when he was full 40 years old.
And when he came full 40 years, so he learned within those 40 years, he was fully indoctrinated in Egyptian culture and learning. All right, go ahead.
It came into his heart to visit his brethren.
See, the Most High said, it's time to come up from mindset now.
Right.
Time to look over you, see your people now. You're not these people here. You're a different nation of people. Even though you was born in their country, raised in their country, learned in their wisdom and knowledge, you're not the same as them. Go ahead.
And to visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
To visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
Right.
And that's when he fled Egypt and went into the land of where?
Midian.
Midian, in the land of Arabia. And that's where the Most High started to groom him and make him into a shepherd. Right? There's more to it?
No, that well is according to what you want to do.
And that's it. All right? Anything else, Ash? Yeah.
Yeah, Zaquan, let me get, Ricard got something. Yeah. Yeah.
This is what they call it a study called the Moses mentality.
Okay.
In other words, when we see our young sisters and brothers go to college, although they learn just like Moses learned in Egypt, just like they learn in college, you gotta have the Moses mentality where you're supposed to still possess your identity, and you support your identity and you support your people.
And utilize it.
Right.
That's they call it the Moses mentality, because he was versed and learned all in Egypt, but he loved his people.
Right.
He even killed an Egyptian for his people.
Yeah.
That was the next, precept.
Right. Can I read it to you? I read it in Hebrews.
You got that one? Yeah.
I read it in Hebrews. Yeah. Moses said, "The hell with that, man. I'm looking up for my people, man.
You can't leave that one.
You oppressing my people, you enslaving us, and you doing us wrong? No. It doesn't work like that, man." All right. Hebrews. Hebrews 12. One second. Hebrews 12 and one second.
I got that Abraham out of the works of Josephus. Y'all want it?
All right, we're gonna read that too.
All right.
The part when he said Moses forsook.
Hold on.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
That's about 11.
Hebrews 11. I'm sorry.
Chapter by faith.
Hebrews 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hebrews 11, and we're gonna start here from start from 17. No.
From 23.
Start from 20. Start from 22.
22.
Hebrews 11:22. Yes. Hebrews 11:22.
Read out the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 22. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandments concerning his bones.
Right. So he told him, when I die, don't leave my bones in Egypt. Take my bones out of Egypt. Because remember, how long did Joseph live in Egypt for?
80 years. No.
Joseph went into Egypt at what age?
16. Teenagers.
He went in at the age of 17.
17.
And remember, what age did he die?
110.
110. So how long did Joseph live in Egypt for? 93 years. Almost 100 years he lived in Egypt. All right, from a young age, from 17 as a teenager, he went into Egypt. And he died 110. And he lived in Egypt for 93 years. All right? So he said, when I die, take my bones out of Egypt. Why didn't he say, leave my bones in Egypt if he was an Egyptian? All right? Think about that. All right? Go ahead.
Verse 23. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child. And they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years.
See, by faith, that spirit hit him when he came to an age of 40. All right, go ahead.
Refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Man, listen, man, I ain't no Egyptian, man. I ain't come from no Egyptian rulership or no Egyptian, no.
Right.
I'm a Hebrew Israelite, man. That's my family. That's my nation. All right, go ahead.
Verse 25, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High.
See what he said? Choosing rather to suffer the affliction with the people of the Most High. Go ahead.
Than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Than to enjoy the wealth and fame and luxury and power of Egypt. He said, nah, I don't want that. Go ahead.
Esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach's greater riches than the treasures in Egypt.
See, esteeming the reproach of Yahushua HaMashiach greater riches than the treasures of Egypt. He said, nah, I'd rather take the reproach of HaMashiach Yahushua than to be esteemed and to have all the riches and fame of Egypt. How many of our people will do that? Nah, brother, I want to be the first black first black politician.
They want it now.
They want all the fame and everything to show off and to extol themselves. Moses said, I don't want that crap, man. That don't mean nothing to me. All right, go ahead.
For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
See, go ahead.
By faith he forsook Egypt.
See, by faith he forsook Egypt. He said, and listen, man, I don't want that garbage, man. That don't mean nothing to me. Go ahead.
Not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured at seeing him who is invisible through faith.
That's it.
That's it.
All right, that was it. Yeah.
Right. So, Quan, let me get something else up on the monitor. I want to get about 3 items up there. Give me that picture of Cleopatra VII as a pharaoh making offerings to Isis. That's the stone of Enophis. Give me that other one. Okay. I mean, you can put that, but give me the other one too.
Isis, right?
Yeah, Isis. Yeah. She making offerings to Isis. This one right here. Yeah. She's dressed as a pharaoh, making offerings to Isis. This is the stone of Onnophis, Oniphis. Okay, everybody got that? Let's go from there. Get me the temple of Edfu. All these temples was built in the Ptolemaic kingdom, see, by Greeks. See that? That's the temple of Edfu, which is located in Upper Egypt. This was built by Ptolemy III. Okay, you got another one? Then I'm gonna get one more, and then I'm gonna hit another scripture, Ben, in the Maccabees.
Remember, Upper Egypt is in the southern part of Egypt. All right, you gotta remember that. Yeah. Lower Egypt is in the north.
Right. Huh? Okay, you now you finish Edfu. Get me the temple of Umbo in Upper Egypt. It was constructed during the Ptolemaic dynasty too. What is like a double temple? You got the inside of it? This was built in the time of the Ptolemaic era as well. Yeah. Okay. Now I want to jump back into the Apocrypha then. First Maccabees, the 10th chapter. Let's read the first verse, then we're going to jump to the 53rd to the 58th verse. First Maccabees, the 10th chapter.
Read in the book of First Maccabees, chapter 10, verse what?
1.
Verse 1. In the 160th year, Alexander, the son of Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, went up and took the Petonius, for the people had received him by means whereof he reigned
there. So this Alexander was a Seleucid. Okay, you had Demetrius. He had a war with Demetrius, Seleucids. Now let's jump to the 53rd verse.
Verse 53. For after I had joined battle with him.
This is Alexander explaining the battle that he fought with Demetrius. Go ahead.
Both he and his host was discomfited by us, so that we sit in the throne of his kingdom.
Right, come on.
Now therefore let us make a league of enmity together, and give me now thy daughter to wife, and I will be thy son-in-law, and will give both thee and her gifts according to thy dignity.
Now this is Alexander speaking to Ptolemy the king. the Egyptian king, the Greek Egyptian king. Go ahead.
Then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, Happy, but be the day wherein thou didst return into the land of thy father, and sattest in the throne of their kingdom.
Come on.
And now will I do to thee as thou hast written. Meet me therefore at Platonia, that we may see one another, for I will marry my daughter to thee according to thy desire.
And all of this was politics.
Right.
Okay. Marriage was politics, man. It was alliances. Go ahead.
Verse 57, so Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra.
Now, which Cleopatra is that?
7.
No. No, this is Cleopatra 7, come way down the line.
sorry.
This, I'm looking at this, is Cleopatra the 2nd. And the Ptolemy is the 5th. Okay, now this, it was times that they did intermarry with Seleucids. But most of the time, the majority, it was the Ptolemies. It was intermarriage with brothers and sisters. Okay, continue.
And they came unto Platonia in the 162nd year,
Read the 58.
where King Alexander, meeting him, gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra,
Come on.
and celebrated her marriage at Platonius with great glory, as the manner of kings is.
That's the manner of kings is. Now, when you read this whole chapter, Ptolemy gets mad at Alexander and take his daughter and gives his daughter to somebody else. She had no choice in that. It was all politics.
Right.
And when you read this 10th chapter, at the beginning, Jonathan the Maccabee of the Hashmonean dynasty, the Levites, the Israelites, is involved in this because you got Alexander and Demetrius, 2 Seleucid Greeks, is trying to get the good favor of Jonathan to make an alliance with Jonathan because he know how terrible those Maccabee brothers were. So they both is trying to send letters and reach out to him to alliance with them. But Alexander prevailed because the Maccabees remembered the dirt that Demetrius had did to their people, so they don't want no parts of him because he's a liar. Okay, but Jonathan the Maccabee plays a part in this history too, man. Alexander made him a high priest. See, they were still in the Greek kingdom. Okay, you really couldn't get a lot of positions unless it was ordained by who was ruling. You see that just like today, mayors and senators and so forth. Okay, and then you get your priest license.
Yeah.
You got to go through the system to get your priest license. Right. So Jonathan had to do that. Alexander set him up as high priest, put him in purple and gold and so forth, gave him that position. And Jonathan the Maccabee, he was allied with Alexander. Okay? I just wanted to bring out, just show you that name Cleopatra is located in the scriptures.
Right. I will read out to that too. And when you go to the 11th chapter, right? Read the 11th chapter and read the 12th verse.
We are the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 11, verse 12.
Okay, yeah.
Wherefore he took his daughters from him and gave her to Demetrius.
Passing her around, all right? Go ahead.
And forsook Alexander, so that their hatred was openly known.
Right. And these were all Greeks, but they had hatred amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 13. Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia and of Egypt.
So he had 2 crowns, one of Asia and one of Egypt. Because it said they were the rulers of Egypt. All right, and they were fighting against Demetrius and against the Seleucids.
The Seleucids, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
In the mean season was King Alexander in Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him.
Mm-hmm.
But when Alexander heard of this, he came to war against him. Whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his host and met him with a mighty power and put him to flight.
So they fought.
Right.
Fighting amongst themselves.
See that, Ben, how at first Ptolemy gave Alexander his daughter. So he was congratulating him on his wars and victories in the lands that he conquered. He said, look, man, let's make an alliance. I will give you my daughter. So now he took his daughter and gave his daughter to Demetrius. Now Alexander and Ptolemy is at war now. See how that works? And these are Greeks.
Yep.
Our people associate people like
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. Because our people looking for some greatness. So they figure anything black, or because it's in Africa or Egypt, it represents them. But they have to go through the history and know the history and understand. You understand? And that's what they fail to realize. Yeah.
I got this info from Josephus with Abraham.
Yeah,
read verse 2.
Yeah.
Read now the book, the works of Josephus, chapter 8, verse 2. For whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs and despised one another's sacred and accustomed rites, and were very angry one with another on that account.
So this was the H.O.D.C was there in Egypt now, because when the H.O.D.C took over, even though they took on some of the Egyptian culture, they brought some of their own culture there too.
Right.
And they hated that. They said when the H.O.D.C took over Egypt, that was like to them the lowest and the most shamefulest point in Egyptian history. When they got rid of the H.O.D.C, they said, good riddance, you gone. They hated the H.O.D.C, man, because they said the H.O.D.C humiliated Egypt, man. Go ahead.
Abram conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasonings they made use of. Every one of their own practices demonstrated that such reasonings were vain and void of truth, whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man and one of great sagacity. When he discoursed on any subject he undertook, and this was not only in understanding it, but in pursuing other men also to assent to him. He communicated to them arithmetic and delivered to them the science of astronomy. For before Abram came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning.
Right.
See that? Yeah.
See? Because astronomy came from who?
For that science.
Because astronomy came from the people where? From Babylon.
Or the East. Yeah.
From the Chaldeans and from that Shemitic family. All right, go ahead.
For that science came from the Chaldeans.
See?
Right.
Into Egypt.
Because Abraham came up from that line. Even though he was not a Chaldean, but Abraham was born in where? Ur of the Chaldees in Iraq. And their influence was in that area. Right. All right, go ahead.
In Egypt, and those thence to Greek also.
Right. So Abraham just dropped knowledge on them, wisdom. A lot of nations came to Egypt and brought different understanding and wisdom in Egypt too. Everything just stemmed from the Kemetic people.
Right.
Even though they had great wisdom and knowledge too, but diverse nations brought different understanding and wisdom into Egypt too. All right, just like America is today. Many different groups brought different understanding and understanding science and different things to America. Some of America's greatest scientists came from other countries.
Germany.
They're not Americans.
Germany.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. let me get Luke the 2nd chapter. I just want to go and prove another history point of Augustus Caesar that he's mentioned in the Bible as well, because when Mark Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide, when they committed suicide after Augustus, who was Octavian, defeated them in the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, Augustus is written in the scriptures. Yes, this is a history book.
Yeah.
I mean, if the book is not real, what is Augustus' name doing in there? Dates and everything.
They want to downplay the Bible, man.
The Herods. What they doing in there? The Herod father, or Herod the Great father, Antipater.
The Assyrian kings, the Persian kings, the Babylonian kings, the Greek kings.
What they doing in there? John Hyrcanus the first, John Hyrcanus the second, that forced the Idumeans into circumcision. He said, you either get circumcised or you die. And they started taking up the Israelite customs. Okay, that was under John Hyrcanus I.
A lot of them became Israelites.
Right.
Which what called Jews today,
Right.
following our customs.
And that's why when Herod came in, when he became the king of Judea, he knew the customs. That's why some of the Israelites was flocking to him. And then his sons after him, they knew the customs. You see that? When Yahushua came on the scene, Yahushua called one of them a little fox. I think it was Antipas. Yeah, he said that. Look, go tell that fox. Yeah, because they knew the Israelite customs. Okay, read that Luke 2:1.
2:1. Read out the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus.
Right.
That all the world should be taxed.
All the world should be taxed. Now, this is a Roman right here. See, just to prove that the history is there, man. I mean, you have to do a lot of reading. Like Ryan brought out the book of the Josephus. There are a lot of scholars, a lot of historians got a lot of books out. Plutarch, Strabo, Polybius, so many of them. Josephus. Yeah, that history is good, man. You get into that history, you put yourself there. Okay? I'm going to yield with that.
And read the 3rd chapter of Luke 2, the first verse.
Okay.
Luke, the 3rd chapter, the first verse.
Reading the book out of Luke, chapter 3 and verse 1. Now in the 15th day of the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar.
There you go.
Caesar, the Romans are ruling over us. So how could we not exist if the Romans are ruling over us? See how people play in people's minds and use mind Jedi games for people to make you believe? If the Romans were ruling over people, that means we existed. Who was the Roman ruling over? The children of Israel. But yet, the Hebrews never existed. No. The Most High gonna put a lot of you Negroes to sleep, man. Go ahead.
Now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate, being governor of Judea.
Right.
Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea.
He had dealings with who?
Judea.
No, he had dealings with who?
The Caesars.
Yahushua.
Yeah.
Pontius Pilate and Tiberius was on the scene doing Yahushua's time.
Right.
He was a Caesar at that time.
And a governor, a foreign governor was ruling over us. Not our own people, but a foreign governor. Go ahead.
And Herod being tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip, tetrarch of Iturea, and of the region of Trachonitis and Lysanitis, the tetrarch of Abilene.
So all of them was ruling over us. The Herods, the Caesars, the Pilate. All were ruling in different what you call different boroughs of Israel. Yes.
And that Herod is Herod Agrippa.
Herod Agrippa. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So just like you got in. You got boroughs, and then you got certain districts. Like in Brooklyn, you got Brownsville, East New York.
Right.
They were ruling all the different districts that we had.
Yeah.
Ain't that something? Nothing changed, man.
Nothing changed, man. Yep, nothing changed.
All right. So with that, anything else?
I guess that's it. You know, we went a little over, but I yield with it.
Right. So that we say shalom. Shalom to all Israel.
Y'all got the understanding about Cleopatra, right? The nation she was from and her lineage. Okay.
All right. So with that, we say shalom. And you know, you got the black scholars. These guys don't know what they're talking about. But we bring out the facts and the evidence. We showed you. They don't know because they caught up into the mother side of it, the matriarch. Because that's what Egypt was based upon. You understand? But even in Egypt, it was still a male-dominant rulership, even though you had female that ruled. But Egypt was basically a male-dominant ruling kingdom. The Pharaoh was the ultimate ruler of Egypt. Okay? Whatever he said went down. Shalom.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah.
I just want to say about the motherland. I gotta plug Galatians 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
Right. Jerusalem is our motherland.
That's it.
That's our mother. All right. Okay. And it's Northeast Africa too. All right. You just said, but that's not in Africa too, brother. Yes, my brother. It's in Northeast Africa, but we're not all the same Africans.
We're not all the same, right?
All right. Shalom.
Shalom. You got Mr. Kwan?